Hello, everybody. Welcome to this new little thing we're doing here on the Sesh, the F1 Conspiracy Files. I'm your host, Raveheart, here as always with my best friend, my partner in crime, Taylor Surreal, and we are here to talk about Charles Leclerc's crash in Monaco qualifying, or as we're calling it, the Monagasque incident. Or to say it in French, because fucking Monaco, l'incident Monagasque. Let's fucking get into this shit. Alright. So, first off, Taylor, do you think that Charles Leclerc crashed on purpose?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here, but yes.
Alright. So, we are starting off on the same foot. As you all know, most of the F1 commentators here on YouTube or fucking anywhere are European. And therefore don't buy into conspiracies the same way us Americans do. So whatever, we're leaning into it. So let's lay out. Let's lay out the players. We've got Charles Leclerc, Ferrari development driver. He's been a part of the Scuderia for a long time. You have Carlos Sainz, the number 2, who has not been a part of the Scuderia for very long. He's only been attached to the team since last summer when he signed for them after coming from McLaren. So, not a lot of, he's definitely the odd man out in this scenario. Let's bring in who I think the chief architect and villain of this, tale is, the bastard love child between Dr. Egon Spangler and Harry Potter, Mattia Bonato. I'm just sorry, but the hair and the glasses, it's just
and
look.
The face.
All you need is the scar on the forehead, and he's got it. It's the doctor coat, the scar on the forehead. You got him. He's been part of the Scuderia for a long time. So he's Swiss-born, studied engineering in college. Then went to an Italian university, studied engineering, and then ended up immediately going to work for the Scuderia. The other character in this story, the one that I can find barely any information about, is, Inaki Rueda. He is the chief strategist at Ferrari. I really don't know how this guy plays into it, but I just thought it would be important to bring that information up. I could be definitely wrong on how to pronounce that guy's name, or even if that guy is actually Ferrari's chief strategist. Wikipedia is not the source I would love to use, but when I'm forced to use it, I'm forced to use it. Okay, so we've laid out the characters. We have Carlos Sainz, who's kind of the odd man out. He's not going to get the preferential calls when it comes to this kind of shady shit. Ferrari doesn't know if they can trust him yet.
Right, he's a new guy.
Yeah. Leclerc, he's been with Ferrari since his junior career. So he's part of the family.
Brought up in the shadiness.
Yes. He's gone through the weird, rituals of joining the Ferrari Mafia. We don't have time to get into what those are, mostly because we don't know them. But, yeah, so he's been a part of the Ferrari family for a bit. If Rueda had anything to do with it, it would literally be a conversation between him and Bonato saying, hey, if we're going to do this, where would be the best place? Where would be the best place to crash? To ensure that we fuck up everybody else, but limit damage to ourselves. That's if there is a way he plays into it, I think that's it. Because as any good conspiracy works, it works because there's a small number of people that have to keep it a secret. The more people you let in, the more likely it is to fall apart. So now let's talk about the we've got the players laid out. Let's talk about the field of play. The Monaco Grand Prix circuit. It's tight. It's prone to crashes. Charles Leclerc is prone to crashing there. He's done it in, I think, all of his races at Monaco, with the exception of this one, because he didn't technically start it. You can't crash out of a race that you don't start. But
oh yeah, he crashed in qualifying.
yeah,
yeah.
So he's basically crashed in every single one of his appearances there. So it's on brand for Charles Leclerc to crash at Monaco. So this isn't like outside of what's normal for him. Also,
Wow.
I don't think it's outside. I don't think Carlos Sainz crashing in qualifying is a normal occurrence. But yeah, look, Charles Leclerc has a bit of a history of crashing at his home race. So there's reason to believe that this is the case, or at least from my perspective. So let's move on to what Inaki Rueda's role in this would have been. What the strategy? What would Ferrari actually gain from crashing during qualifying? And I think it's pretty obvious, but bringing out that red flag when you've got a guy on the top of the podium, when you got a guy on the top of the timing sheets, that's gonna give you the pole. And which at Monaco is incredibly important. We talked about it in the last 2 episodes. It's a procession race. It's like you put yourself you put yourself on pole, you're giving yourself a high likelihood of victory.
Very difficult to pass, especially nowadays. So yeah, it's all about qualifying.
Yeah.
That's why Lewis Hamilton was so upset.
Salty bitch. But yes, so let's talk about the run up to the crash, which would be free practices 1 through 3. I love the meme that shows like there was like the people on the balcony going into like turn like
The
one
hairpin.
of the turns up the hill. And it had like his name on the thing with like the Monagasque seal in the middle of it. And he's waving and he holds up 2 fingers. And it was like there's a meme on Twitter I saw, was basically like Charles Leclerc telling his friends how many laps he was going to finish in FP1, because he only did like 2 laps, because like his gearbox was messed up. It's like, oh, 4th gear's not working, whatever. And then FP2 he does a little bit better, not great, but like, you know, he's in the top 10. But then FP3, him and Carlos Sainz are at the top of the timing sheets. It's like, that's odd. It's
Interesting.
yeah, you're not doing so great the first 2 runs, but then run number 3, you're at the top of the timing sheets. Like, huh? It's like you got like
Ferrari.
they've popped up on the top of the timing sheets in different like qualifying runs and different free practices throughout the season so far, but they've never stayed there for long.
Right.
It's like it's always been the Mercedes and the Red Bull, or so like the random McLaren jumping in front of them. But yeah, for them to stay at the top of the timing sheets in in FP3, then we go into qualifying, and as I think we would both expect, both Ferraris end up in Q3, where the incident happens. Now, I'm going to show some like onboard footage that I've pulled on this bit. But you basically see that something doesn't quite go right when he's going into where he's going into the turn before he crashes. He loses some control. Yeah,
it's like a routine turn that's not a problem. And then it looks like he messed up what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it looked like basically, okay, I have to crash here. No, wait, I have to crash there. And then it's like, oh, shit, well,
And
I'm
he
fucked.
crashed too hard. He clipped it too much. Had he clipped it a little bit less, he would have just knocked the wheel off and he'd go sliding. Which gets back to you talking about strategically where to do it.
Yeah.
There was enough room for him to slide out, but not to hit barriers or anything. And,
I also think that the original plan wasn't for him to actually crash. Because you can pull out a red flag with the amount of time left in qualifying, I think it was less than 20 seconds when he crashed.
you could just clip a splitter, like a front splitter,
Yeah,
and
that's
the
what I
carbon.
think. Yeah, that's what I think he was trying to do. He was just trying to bust
Right.
off a chunk of that front wing. But either I think he lost control of the rear a little bit before, like going into that turn, which then pointed his nose further into the barrier than he wanted it to, and obviously then causing the crash that puts
Too
him into the
hard.
wall and ends his race. There's reason for us to believe, based on the available on-track footage, that our American conspiracy assumption is true. Now let's go into the radios. Now I don't have these prepared, but there's three. There's really two I want to talk about. We have Carlos Sainz, who,
Not happy.
yes, extremely not happy, but also it's not unhappy in a way where it's like it was almost expected.
Is it genuine? Right.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
cover?
like no. It's like it didn't
How could
feel.
you do this?
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was that spontaneous upset that he didn't get to do what he wanted. Like this shit was planned, and he could have chosen to do it or not do it, but then he clearly chose to fucking do it.
Yeah,
And that's what I think that Carlos Sainz is upset about. The next one, the one I think that is the most telling of all of them, is the one from Valtteri. Where he basically says, oh, well, that's expected. Like, either he was expecting the motor racing version of political rat fucking from the part of Ferrari, or it's like, well, it's Charles. He was going to crash here eventually. Makes sense that he would do it now. Like,
true. It could go either way right there. I'm not sure which one it is
but
now that you bring that
it
up.
definitely fucking seems like Valtteri expected this. And, like, not in, like, he also does seem like the kind of person who would, like, you know what? Fair play.
No, they would all do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
they
like
would all do it.
all of us would have been tempted to do it, but congratulations for actually having the balls to follow through with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, like, Red Bull just kind of there was just general freak out from them across their entire radio.
They
I can't really.
defaulted.
Yeah, it's like I can't really pick out anything specific from their radio that like makes me think that they suspected Ferrari. They were just pissed. Just kind of in general.
Everybody was pissed. They're like, yeah, we're all gunning for the and the guy in front crashes.
Now we've broken down the actual incident itself. But this is the fun part for me. Let's go into the historical precedent for Ferrari's shady fucking behavior. I've picked out a couple of key examples. One of them is the 1983 Lancia WRC title. This is the year they went toe-to-toe with the Audi Quattro with Lancia's 037. As an Audi fan, I don't really like telling this story, but we're going to go with it. So this starts with the homologation tests, where they didn't build all of them. They only built 200. They were supposed to build 400 of the 037. So what they did when the FIA inspectors showed up at the factory to inspect the cars, they're basically like, oh, this parking lot's full. The other 200 cars are at another parking lot on the other side of town. Let's go check those out now, but on the way, we'll pick up some lunch. And effectively tried to drag that lunch out as long as they possibly could. Why did they drag that lunch out? Because the Lancia factory staff were a little busy driving the 200 cars that the people had just inspected to a parking lot on the other side of town. And surprisingly, after several bottles of wine and a big Italian lunch, they obviously bought it. But this goes further, because going into the Monte Carlo rally, there's one thing that rally is famous for. Snowy, icy, slippery roads in the hills above, where else? Monaco. See how this all lines up? In the run-up to the race, the head of the Lancia factory team was on the phone with local officials, like in the run-up to the race, bugging them repeatedly to clean up the roads around Monaco in the hills where the rally would be taking place, because he was like, all that snow and ice is going to be real dangerous for those spectators. And it's like, you really want to make sure those are cleaned up so nobody hurts themselves. Obviously, leaving out the fact that his cars were rear-wheel drive. Not, up against the Audi four-wheel drive. So having cleaner roads was definitely going to benefit him. What these guys also did was hit the grocery store and buy up every bag of salt, probably in a 50-mile radius around Monaco, and dumped all of it on the tricky corners of the rally stage, so that by the time their car got there, obviously the road would be clear. They also did one more thing at this rally, which was change their tires mid-stage. Now, obviously, that sounds like it would be against the rules, which technically it was, but there wasn't anything in the rulebook saying you couldn't do it either. So in the classic Italian motorsport tradition of rules are for fucking suckers, they decided to do it. And there was a whole bunch of other trickeration that occurred throughout that season. There was the showing up to the start line without their seatbelts done up to try and avoid the dust in San Remo.
I like that one.
That one's probably the best. Just oh no, wait, I'm a racing driver and I somehow forgot to do up my seatbelt before going to the start of the stage.
Oops.
Whoopsie. It's but also one of the better parts of that was in certain rallies, either ones where their ace driver, Walter Rule, didn't want to go. This is a guy who came out before the season started and said, I don't want to win a world championship, after winning 2 previously. The guy was a character. But the whole thing was, they couldn't compete in Sweden or Finland or whatever, so they just didn't fucking show up. Which is kind of the best part. It's look, we ain't gonna win. We know it. We're just gonna stay home.
We're gonna save our money. We're gonna work on ourselves.
Yeah, and then in other rallies where they thought they had a better chance, instead of showing up with their usual 2 cars, they'd show up with 5. So it was there was definitely a lot of flexibility with the rules in this 1983 Lancia team, which resulted in them getting what they needed to win a world title. What I'm saying is that this is indicative of Italian motorsport in general, not just a defunct former rally legend. And now let's go into the historical present that features Ferrari themselves. So at Monaco, we have probably, I guess, the most famous qualifying incident prior to this one, which was Michael Schumacher parking his car at Rascasse in 2006. I watched clips of it, and it's just like he just stopped. There's no fucking reason for it. He just stopped. And I'm also
my
just
engine has stopped. I don't know what to do.
It's it brings up another question for me, is why don't F1 drivers brake check each other more often? It's kind of a dick move and kind of dangerous, but also, what's to stop you? Do you really want to win? obviously there was that. And then obviously we have to go through the other issues, which I've called this one homologation trickeration. This was Enzo fucking around with the famous Ferrari 250 GTO from back in the day, and basically taking that body and slapping it on your average road car. Like, basically, other than the body panels, these cars shared no parts with their racing counterparts, but yet sold them to the public as if they were actual fucking race cars. And to a point, I have to say, bravo, Enzo. Great job. Like, you're holding up the pillar of, shady shit in Italian motorsport. But also, it's just kind of like, he had a point later on when he was basically saying, like, we don't have customers that can even handle the cars that we're going to build, so we're just not going to build them. It's like
an exaggerated point, but it checks out.
But then the FIA let them get away with that for forever until 1964, where they were like, hey, no, you have to stop that. But then Ferrari's like, well, then fine, fuck it, I'll pull out of Le Mans racing altogether. And, it's the classic Enzo pulling the Cartman from South Park. I'm going to take my toys and I'm going home. Like,
I'm going home.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like, when you add in the prestige of Monaco, especially to an organization like the Scuderia, you can understand how they might pull out some shady tactics in order to try and win.
Yeah.
And obviously Charles Leclerc couldn't park it like Schumi did back in the day. So they had to come up with a little more feasible scenario where this all could have played out and not been a problem. Well, obviously, they fucked it up and cost me my prediction. But
yeah, I was worried because I was like, okay, the gearboxes are good. Okay, we'll see.
And that was like, he goes out on the lap before the preliminary, like the lap before their sighting lap before the start. And it's just like, they come over the radio, box. I'm like, aww.
And I'm pretty sure he had to go out for like the national anthems and everything.
Yeah, he had to go out. Yeah, for the national anthem. And it's like, although I do kind of get it. It would be like if there was an American driver during the U.S. Grand Prix and he wasn't going to start, but he didn't roll out for the national anthem. People would be fucking pissed.
Right. Like,
Americans don't give a shit about F1, but if an American driver, fucked with the national anthem, people will be mad.
You got to do it. But at the same time, he's like, all right, well, I'll see you guys later. I'm headed back to the pits.
I do have to say, the only part of me that makes me think this wasn't the case and that he actually, crashed for real. Well, I mean, he that it wasn't an intentional crash.
Right.
Is the fact that he stuck around in the garage the whole time. He was there the whole race. He stayed to support his teammates and his engineers and all that shit. Like,
well,
I'm still going to lead toward it was on purpose, but I want to leave the door open because we may be just talking out of our asses and there's no real proof to any of this.
I'll add on to that. Here's the other thing. Is why would he have crashed? He was in the lead and there's no real... Was he worried about somebody getting a slightly quicker time than him or something? I don't know. He was leading.
I know Sainz, Sainz, Valtteri, Verstappen. I'm not sure if Lewis was still out there or not, but like, there were more people coming through. Which is why I think the plan was to crash there instead of earlier.
Just to end it. Yeah, right at the end. Yep.
Because it was like, at the point it was in the track, they would have had to have red flagged it in order to get people to stop further up.
right, to stop their times.
Yeah.
Because he would have finished no matter what. Nobody was about to overpass him. But he was stopping the times that, yep. Because I remember everybody yelling on the fucking mics like, God damn it!
It's like,
no way.
Yeah, part of me does really think that the reactions of the other people are really what give it the. What separate it from being like a borderline thing to a. They
all know
probably
what the
did
fuck
something.
happened.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, they know what's happened.
It's like there's this unwritten rule of. Okay, yeah, you tried to fuck with everybody, but because you didn't get away with it, then we're not going to say shit. But, like, had the car been in good enough condition to start and they won that race,
Oh,
McLaren, Mercedes, everybody would have been fucking up their ass. Basically, you cheated. You fucking cheated, we all know it.
yeah, it would have been up in arms. It would have been angry as fuck, dude. That would have been crazy.
That would have been fucking
I thought
amazing.
for sure. I thought it would have happened because I was like, oh, they checked the car out. All right, hell yeah. Ferrari's in it. No, next day gearbox is trashed, of course, because they hit that shit so hard. Oh, but then I was also like, hell yeah, Doug's prediction will not win.
Well, we will be back for more predictions here soon. We've got the Azerbaijan Grand Prix coming up.
Yep.
And we'll be doing a run up and predictions for that here soon. But thanks for joining us on the first episode of the F1 Conspiracy Files. I think the next one is going to be the mysterious retirement of Nico Rosberg. Because that's one...
We might have to dive into that one.
That one has some tasty, beefy backstory that I think we need to dive into.
Ooh.
Yeah. But thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Adios.